Hello, everyone. My name is Iveoma. Welcome to Iveoma Media, the platform that helps Nigerians in the diaspora invest in Nigeria. Today, I am so privileged. I get the chance to speak to the co-founder of Get Equity, Jude Dike. Jude Dike is going to be telling us about how his business lowers the bar for people to invest in African businesses. All of this is coming up. Please make sure to like, comment below. Those are amazing ways to support this channel. Thank you. So Jude, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you very much for having me, Iveoma.
So Jude, the reason I'm interviewing Jude is because I interviewed two other people, Princess Oti, co-founder of Keyoshi, and Isaac, who's just a Nigerian angel investor, and they both talked about you during their interviews. I was like, okay, let me reach out to Jude and speak to him about his amazing platform. So Jude, can you tell us what Get Equity is about? And why so many people are excited about you?
Okay. I think I'll first start with the fact that Get Equity as a platform allows for anyone to be able to invest in African startups. So typically, I mean, the investment scale or the investment landscape has always been from the time of our parents, you would have them having to call a broker, and then the broker having to, like, there was so many things that was hidden from that whole aspect. And that was just, investing in public companies. Before you start to talk about investing in private companies, which was something that it felt like it was only reserved for HNIs. And one thing that we're trying to do is reduce that bar. So even according to US laws, you have to have about $250,000 to do a bit of angel investing, which is basically invest in private companies. And one thing that we're trying to do is to reduce that criteria, to take away that criteria. And funny enough, it's led to so much enthusiasm from a lot of people. And, recently we've been finding out that quite a bit of people love the idea of being able to put money in businesses that they like and businesses that they currently use. So it's been amazing so far. I think we're about 7 months in, and with the amount of messages, traction that we've seen, it seems quite a lot of people are ready to put their money in, businesses that they fancy.
I think that's wonderful, because also I'm glad that you spoke about the $250,000 minimum that the U.S. government says that you need. Is it accredited investor?
Yes, for accredited investors.
And that's really kind of a gatekeeping kind of strategy, right?
An accredited investor is a person or entity that is allowed to invest in securities that are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. It takes money to make money, and accredited investors have more opportunities to do so than non-accredited investors. Investopia.
So I think it's amazing to have platforms like you that are creating, no, you can invest through our platform and you don't need to have $250,000 in spare income to be an angel investor.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at $250,000 from the aspect of let's say from the aspect of someone in the US, now try to imagine it from the use case of people in Africa. It's like, how many people meet the criteria of having $250,000 in assets? It's really crazy.
Yeah, it's very crazy. So why, though, do you think it's important to lower the bar for, or kind of remove the veil for investing in African businesses?
One, it's because, especially in Africa, right? One thing that we have seen is that for an economy to grow, there needs to be, money moving around in that economy. And the more startups have access to, let's say, funds to grow their businesses, right? The more they're able to employ people. Those people who get employed also now are able to, earn a certain level, also to be able to do the same thing, which is maybe to invest in other businesses. The more money comes into an ecosystem, or the more money comes into an economy, the bigger it gets. we saw in the past, maybe 20, 30 years, how it happened in China. We've seen how it has happened in India. We've seen that happen. I mean, we saw what the oil boom did to Dubai. Just the idea of, more money coming into an ecosystem and being managed well, because that also is, a really huge criteria.
Very big.
But then, African businesses are solving quite a lot of problems in spite of the situation we find ourselves. So one major thing that needs to happen is for those businesses to get access to funds to be able to grow. And now when you allow for that to happen, you start to see a lot more growth. You start to see it's a ripple effect in sense. And I think it's why we have seen Get Equity being referred to as a community product, because it's something that a lot of people feel that is needed, not just because it allows maybe a person or as an individual to invest in a business that I like, but even for businesses, with the fact that they know that it can get access to funds that would grow their businesses and that they would use to employ people. And even the ripple effects to being able to employ people who then can't take care of their families, etc. The ripple effect is just, it's huge.
People who want to invest in your platform want to make money. So let's talk about that. Like, how do people make money investing on any platform like this? Like, what is the point of investing in African businesses / Nigerian businesses?
So as of right now, right, I think the growth trajectory of African businesses has been amazing. In the past 5 years alone, I mean, we have companies like Paystack, Flutterwave, who literally started 5 years ago from zero.
Yeah,
Flutterwave is now a unicorn. Paystack exited for 200 million. We're starting to see some other businesses like a Piggyvest who, word on the streets is that they could probably be a unicorn, in the next year or so, right? And the question is, if I had invested maybe $5,000 in Paystack 5 years ago, how much would that be worth right now?
I would be retired.
And that's the question. That's the mark that I'm trying to answer, right? And then again, we also know that capital basically is not patient in Africa. And what that means is, unlike the US or unlike US investors, we do not necessarily, maybe because of our exchange rate and etc., but we do not necessarily have that much spare cash, to keep in a business for, say, maybe 10 years, 5-10 years. And then that's what brought about what we call Get Equity secondaries. And what that means is, say, for example, I invested in Paystack in 2015, or maybe I invested in Paystack or Flutterwave in 2015. And say by 2017, even though they're not, they didn't get, as of 2017, Paystack wasn't acquired or Flutterwave wasn't acquired, but they had seen some level of growth, maybe being 10 times worth what they are or 20 times worth. And I could say I'm really, really fine with, having 10 times worth of the money I initially put in. And so one thing that can happen,
So here's the thing. I'm glad that you're putting it in numbers, right? Because let's say, like you said, you invested $5,000. Well, in 3 years, you would have gotten 10 times worth that. I don't think people understand that, right? So you would have ended up $50,000. So I just need numbers attached to things, because people are not really understanding why they should invest in African businesses or Nigerian businesses, because they're not like, the math is not mathing for them. So they're trying to like, whoa, what's going on? Something's not right. So I'm glad that you're breaking it down.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, in this case, you could have had maybe a 20 times, which would give you maybe $100,000, right? And just with that idea of, you had $5,000 that you weren't using at that time. Now, maybe for some reason, when Africa, things happen, right? You might need some excess cash, or you might maybe want to commit into buying a house. Yeah. Right now, you have about $100,000 worth of Paystack that is, sitting somewhere. You could decide that fine, you've seen quite a level of growth. You might want to sell everything, or maybe the house is worth $50,000, or maybe that's all you needed. Then you can decide that you want to sell half of your ownership, half of your previous ownership, which leaves another $15,000. So now you're selling half of your ownership to someone else on the Get Equity platform. Because here's another thing, just like I'm talking about Paystack and Flutterwave as of right now, there's still people who around the world are looking for, maybe they think Flutterwave is worth $1 billion now, but in maybe another 3 years, they might be worth $30 billion, right? And those people still want to have access into owning a piece of Flutterwave.
Yeah.
So for those people, maybe they can afford to go and wait another 3-4 years. And now you who has maybe $100,000 worth of Flutterwave can decide to sell $50,000 worth towards that person. And so in this instance, you start to see where you're happy, that person is happy, everyone is good. I mean, Get Equity is happy in ourselves because we were able to facilitate this as well. Mm-hmm. You know, when these things starts to happen, one major use case or one major effect of that is the fact that the economy in itself starts to rise, because now you have $50,000 maybe to buy a house. What that means is your realtor gets paid and gets their commission, and they're able to feed their family. You now have a house. Maybe the developer in themselves who developed the house also gets paid. The people who built the house get paid. It's basically money flowing into an ecosystem, or basically money flowing into an economy. And the more people who do things like that, so right now we're talking with 100,000, but we start to talk in tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars.
Very fast.
And we start to see how things like that could facilitate a really huge growth.
Right now, so many Nigerian tech companies have raised, this is February 2022. In the first month alone of this year, they raised millions of dollars. And we've never seen this past 2 years of growth. So each time a company that you feature, or each time a company, period, in Nigeria is just raising these funds, and people get excited, and more people start giving or investing in other businesses. It's kind of like this ripple effect that's happening right now. It's very exciting to see it, like to be here and just like see like, okay, wow, like all this stuff is happening. And I feel like it's my place to make it more relatable for people, right? So when they talk about series funding, people start to think like, how could I have gotten involved in that, right? People don't know how to do that. So how do you think someone who's interested in investing, I know outside of your platform, but like how should someone who's genuinely interested in investing in these Nigerian businesses, these African businesses that you're showing your platform, like what's their first step of investing?
I think the first step is knowing what kind of businesses you need, and then having access to those kind of businesses. I mean, one major thing that we, and I mean, this is in general, right? But one major thing my business is trying to do is to give everyone a diverse amount of businesses, where if you're interested in real estate, you'd have that. If you're invested in art businesses, you'd have that. If you're invested in tech businesses, you'd be able to see that. Where we want to be that one-stop place where you'd walk into and you have a wide array of businesses to choose from, depending on the kind of person you are. Mm-hmm. Another thing I'd say is network effects work a lot. So access to people who are currently doing this in the continent, right? And it's not just Nigeria, it's the entire Africa.
Yeah.
I've been opportunity to meet with people who are literally forming syndicates everywhere. And syndicates are basically syndicates could be anything from, a major organization saying, yes, we're going to allow people to have access into who want to put funds together. Maybe a friend has access to some of these companies who are raising and is able to maybe squeeze out an allocation. And an allocation in this case is saying, okay, maybe I want to put $5,000 in. At the end of the day, you need to know where you should put your $5,000 in. So it could just be as little as friends of friends who just pull funds together to invest in a company at the same time.
Like an investment club.
Exactly. It's literally an investment club.
That's what you meant by syndicates.
A syndicate is basically an investment club. Yes. Okay. I think a syndicate is more of, and it's a thing with gatekeeping words, right? A syndicate is just something a bunch of financial people came up with, and now we use it instead of just going with the typical
club,
English explanation words.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like it. I like that your platform is really lowering the gatekeeping. And that's what I think even of my platform. Like, I'm just trying to show people like, no, like build up financial literacy in our communities, but also show people like, no, these people are investing. These are the investors. These are people they're investing in, or companies they're investing in. And this is how much money they're making. And you could do it too. And that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
I do have a question, actually. What kind of companies do you invest in? Like, what kind of sectors are you interested in or most excited about in Nigeria? And what kind of companies do you personally invest in?
Okay, so I'm sector agnostic. So two major things which
I've literally never heard anyone use the word agnostic and sector together. So congratulations, that was unique. Sorry, continue.
So I think on a default, and this is, from me being an engineer, yeah, I tend to invest in infrastructure businesses because I feel in Africa, one of the major things that we lack is infrastructure. Could be healthcare infrastructure, financial infrastructure, agricultural infrastructure, logistics. Oh my God, logistics, yes.
Logistics is so interesting to me. Very interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So those are my typical go-tos, and then I tend to invest more in the founders than in the business itself. So when I see a business, I tend to do my research on the founders. Mm-hmm. If I know the founders, if I know someone who knows the founders, even if I don't know the founders, I check out their LinkedIn. I try to see what they've done. One major thing I try to do is to find out why they are the people who are solving those problems. Like, what do they know? What do they have that is different from everyone else, right? What they have that allows for them to be the people to solve these problems. And more often than not, it's worked really well for me.
But how much money do you think you've invested in African or Nigerian businesses? And how much money have you returned, like gotten a return on?
Okay, so there's, I think I'll first start with, typically in terms of how much I've invested in total, I would say that would range somewhere around 50,000 US. And that is across board, across time.
Wow.
How much have I gotten in return?
Big spender. I'm teasing.
So, I mean, there's that. There's cash. There's also investing my time as an engineer. So there's businesses that I literally say, I like what you're doing. I like that this needs to be solved. And even if it's me putting in my time, my resources, my engineering resources, helping you find hires. I mean, that's one major thing that I've done so far in the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. It's even if I can help you get hires, employees, all of that, I would personally take my time to do that. And then there's companies I've worked with, which, I have exercised ESOPs on.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
Okay, I said ESOPs, and ESOPs basically means stock options, right?
Oh,
there's some of them that I have stock options in, and I mean, I don't know the current worth of those. Maybe sometime I'll have to check. But then in terms of returns on many of these businesses, I mean, I'm the kind of person that can hold out for a long time. So I haven't really tried to exit, for lack of a better word. But in terms of returns, I mean, they've given pretty good returns. I would say at least more than three times their worth.
That's wonderful. No, people need to understand that. Like, until I even started becoming interested in investing when I moved back, I couldn't put numbers to things that people were telling me. So I started asking people outright, like, how much money did you spend to do this or invested in this company, and how much money have you gotten out? And like that to me is like, or validate, or if you can't, like a lot of people haven't been able to, well, they don't want to withdraw from the company, but I'm like, okay, well, what do you get in it? If you're not going to withdraw any money, what are they giving you? Are they giving you dividends, or are you calculating the how their company is growing, so you're able to see your stock, that you're able to see your equity in the company double and triple? Like, I need to understand that. And I think a lot of people are kind of like me, where they're like, okay, like, can you add numbers to everything you're saying? Because $50,000 and then you 3 times that, like, what are we saying? And then the companies that you are investing in, they're not even unicorns yet, you know? So it's actually very interesting what's happening in this space. So imagine, I always think about that. Anytime I see these like African unicorns, I think, why didn't I? I had money at that time. Why couldn't I invest in your company? I didn't know how.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 2 different ways. There's the fact that you didn't know how, and then it's also, even if you know how, do you have access to be able, right? Because access is key, right? For some companies, I mean, there's something that's called a minimum size check, which is for around the company is raising. There's a minimum amounts that they would, get from, that they would accept from anyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be $20,000. Sometimes it could be 50. Sometimes it could be $1 million, right? Not something that an individual would, be able to do. But now where you're able to have a pool of funds, or you're able to have a platform like Get Equity, which can collate from maybe 1,000 people, right? An average of $100 from 1,000 people is $100,000, and with that, you can get access into almost any company, and that is typically the case for things like this.
Yeah. So, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I think one major thing I would love to add is the fact that I feel a lot more people need, or a lot more people should, start looking at the idea of investing in businesses. I remember as at 2020, the remittance landscape in Nigeria was about 20 billion. And quite a lot of that is, people from the diaspora looking to put money in real estate. I think back then it used to be, people in diaspora sending money back home. Apart from upkeep, is sending back home to build houses, etc. And I mean, now with the fluctuating rate of real estate, etc., I'd say, how about trying out with businesses that you like back home, or even checking out a couple of businesses? I know quite a lot of people would want to do that, but are looking for, how do I know if this business is good or not? How do I know what businesses are good enough? Because I'm maybe not in this ecosystem, I'm maybe not in this landscape. What I'd say is, check out Get Equity, see what you fancy from across Africa, because it's not just Nigeria. See what you fancy. And I think many can even make requests of businesses that they feel they would want to invest in if we had them. And let's see if we can get them for you.
Well, I think that is so wonderful. Thank you so much, Jude, for talking to me. I appreciate it so much. I feel like I've learned a lot in this conversation.
Thank you very much for talking to me as well. I mean, it's been amazing.
Okay, awesome. So everyone, thank you guys so much for watching to the end. Tell me, what kind of companies are you interested in investing, right? I think that's actually quite interesting when people comment below and tell me what kind of companies they're interested in investing in. So I'm learning more about different things, and everyone reading is learning more. So again, thank you so much. Bye now.